Today I'm going to show you how to repair a remote control for a garage door. This remote's fairly old, and pushing on it, the remote just wouldn't open. After checking the battery's fine, just that there was a deeper problem here that I'll show you here in just a second and show you how to fix it. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, you take apart the remote. It should just come right apart, and looking at it, you can clearly see quickly what the problem is. The rubber, which formed a nice little peg here for these buttons to push up against, has just completely gone away here. You can use a product like Permatex or a caulking to fill this void. I'm using some Permatex here. And you simply fill in the cavity here with this product, and then mush it around. I'll show you here in a second. Until the cavity is filled relatively flat. You want to get it somewhat close to the same level that these other depressors are. And then to create a depressor, I simply take you can use a 2-liter bottle, plastic bottle, something that's relatively flat that you can take and cut, and just taking with a pair of scissors, cut off a piece. And you want to make a little round circle that would go in there. And you just kind of make a square to start out with, maybe, and then you cut off the corners of the square. And then eventually you're going to start getting a small circle here. The point where it's nice and round. Then you take that small circle that you just created, just put it right in there. You got your glue that's wet, so it'll hold it in place. And then you take your remote, put it back together. This may need to dry, but you can kind of see how it works just to put it back together. Put your remote piece back together, give it a test. It works now. So anyway, that's how you do that. And as a follow-up to the video, I showed how to make a repair to the button for your garage remote. It turns out that this depressor, this contactor, the switch, was shot, and it really didn't spring back very well. And so what I ended up doing is actually unsoldering this switch from the center button here. These two are programmable, but are not programmable back to the main garage door. They can program something else. And so I removed this button here, this button switch from here, and then took the button switch from here and put it over here, and then resoldered it back to the back. You can see what that looks like. The way you do that, you want to make sure you put the switches in the same way that you take them out. I took and marked them before I removed them with a Sharpie, so that I knew which direction they needed to go, and I put a mark against all of them so I could see that. And then with a soldering iron, I actually put this in a vise. It made it easy, so I didn't have to hold on to this, and I could work on getting the connections broken. So I took the soldering iron and I heated it up while this thing is in the vise. Heated it up, got the solder so that it was fluid. And then I took with what you can do with a shop rag, a terry cloth rag, or anything, but you wipe it and you use that to remove as much solder as you can. And then I took and basically straightened out the leads that go into this, and then with just kind of wiggling it, it was able to pop right out. And then I put it back into this spot here, bent them over, and I used, in addition to a rosin core solder, I used some flux that had some acid to it. Soldering works a lot well if you've got an acid base here. It makes the solder just adhere a lot easier. So anyway, I put that in, and then I used just a clamp. These are like a surgical type clamp where you can click it and hold it in place, but I simply took that and then I used this to just kind of clamp down, and then that held that button in there while I soldered it on the other side. Then I just put a little bit of flux on each of the connectors and then hit it with the soldering gun, and it all works very well now. That's the conclusion of that. Once you've got your soldering connections completed, you put your remote back together, just gently fit it all back, and then you can give it a test. You should hear a click when you after you depress it. You want to make sure that you hear somewhat of a bounce back, so that you know that there's clearance in there for that when you push this down, it's not just holding it down. So just give it a check when you do that. And it seems to be working just fine. Now that that's done, I'm just finished putting the screw in the back of it. If you like the video that you saw today, please like it, and we'll continue to post more videos how to use plastics and different things to fix just regular items that need to be repaired.